we just want to give everyone a quick reminder about the giveaway that we have going to celebrate the new podcast. All you have to do is leave a review. If you leave a review on Apple or Spotify or both for a double entry, there's going to be a form that you can click into in the show notes where you can show a screenshot of the review that you left. And the winners, we're picking 4 winners. 2 winners are going to get a year for free in Vibe Club. And then 2 other winners are going to get a one-on-one session with me for a coaching call. We will be choosing the winner on September 19th. So make sure you get that in by Friday. And then we will announce it on the episode that airs on September 22nd. I don't think tools or practices have the power to change our lives. But I think if we utilize tools in the right way, with the right energy, we can change. And when we change, our life changes. Hello, everybody.
Episode 5.
Oh, wait, that was...
That's what I'm supposed to do, right?
A little too early, but yeah. Good job, though. That was good.
Welcome to episode 5.
Welcome to the podcast.
I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing what you asked me to do.
I know, just a little in advance, but that's okay.
Okay.
It's okay. I just got back from Wyoming.
How was it?
It was so amazing.
Beautiful?
So beautiful. We went to Jackson Hole, Grand Teton National Park. My aunt lives on this beautiful property, just green, mountains, trees, nature, Newfoundland dogs, so cute. A chicken coop, a garden, a sauna, it's a different reality, truly, and I mean that.
Yeah.
And so coming home, I was like, okay, I went by myself. Coming home, I was like, all right, what am I supposed to take with me here? Like, what am I supposed to bring home with me? Because it really felt like stepping out of my normal, which is, by the way, so good for your brain to show it different experiences and different paces of living. And I just realized that it's just about the pace and the mindfulness. There was this ability to not be distracted by signs and stores and stoplights and cars and people because there was just none of that really up there. And so it had this built-in level of just being where you are and moving at a slower pace and taking the time it takes to drive somewhere and be somewhere and come home and to cook slowly. And it was just amazing. So that's what I'm bringing home with me. But
awesome.
I'd be lying if I didn't say I want to move to Wyoming now. And that's the problem with me. So today we're going to talk about meditation, but as always, kind of not as well. Meditation is a tool that I've used ever since the end of January. I've been meditating pretty much daily. I've missed a good amount of days too. It hasn't been like completely without missing days, but it's one of those things that I've heard about for so many years and heard about the benefits of it and the way it literally changes the brain and then the science on it. And it just seemed always to be like a good idea. Meditation is a good idea, but I had tried it so many times and it never stuck. And I also feel, looking back, I remember feeling like this is something I should be doing. Yeah. And if you know anything about me and shoulds and have tos and like, you must do this, that's not a good energy to really do anything from. Because it's not like you should meditate. You shouldn't meditate if you have no desire to meditate. It's not something everyone should do.
Why did you ever think you should do it?
Because it just, successful people meditate and peaceful people meditate. And
so you had this intrinsic idea that it was good for you.
Yes. And
had you ever experienced good from it in the past? Why did you think that?
No, I think it was just kind of with the way that it was put on display. The
way it's marketed?
Yeah, the way meditation is marketed. And so I had tried it and I feel like there wasn't one New Year's Eve or New Year's, what are they called? Resolutions? Yeah. That wasn't like meditate every day, meditate for an hour and all that stuff. It just never stuck for me. And I tried it and I feel like I tried all different kinds of meditation. And when I went through, when my chronic pain journey started, I obviously started learning about ways that you could heal. And meditation was always one of those things that was listed as things that people had done that had been really life-changing for them. And hell, I was 18 months into my whole deal before it was something I even did consistently. I did try it over the first 18 months, but yeah, it was just something that to me, it felt like something that was sold as like this cure all, heal all type of thing. Like, and I was jaded from that kind of stuff because I had tried so many things like that promised like to fix problems and to heal you and to regulate your nervous system. And I had tried all of those things for small periods of time and was like, this didn't work. It didn't work for me. Journaling didn't work for me. Meditation didn't work for me. Brain retraining didn't work for me. None of those things worked for me. But at the end of January, I decided to start meditating consistently. And it was kind of like a random thing I decided to do. And my whole entire life is different since that period of time. And it would be easy to credit all of that to meditation, but I'm not going to do that because I think the bigger conversation that needs to happen here is that the real solution to your problems is changing. You need to change. That's it. That's the solution. If you want something different in your life, you need to become a different person. And that's going to be a combination of changing the way you talk to yourself, the way you perceive your environment, the dominant emotions that you feel most of the time, the way you act in your relationships, the way you show up in your job. All of that has to change. And so my life is completely different, but it's different because I changed all of that stuff over the last 8 months, 7 months. But I love meditation, but I never want to oversell any one of these things because one of my favorite quotes that I have heard from Dr. Joe is people heal themselves from all kinds of things through this work. But like I said, I believe it has more to do with the change than the meditation. But the quote is, people didn't do their meditations to heal, they did their meditations to change. And that's the focus that I want to bring to any tool that you're using. Anything that you're doing to support yourself, anything like journaling, breath work, meditation, EFT tapping. I'm sure there are a million different things. The energy that you do those things from matters a lot. And it will never, ever be those things and maybe people would disagree with me, but it will never be those things in and of themselves that heal you, fix you, even change you, but they can also be a really integral part of you changing. I know my life is different because I changed. And I knew even with meditation that me spending 30 minutes to an hour in meditation every day paled in comparison to the other 15 hours that I would spend interacting with my environment, interacting with my mind, interacting in my relationships. So that was where I had to be different.
Did the meditation help you be different?
It did. The meditating helped me to change. And I think some of the ways that it did that were it gave me the opportunity to experience a different type of brainwave state. It helped me to be with myself, to sit with myself, because that's obviously hard to do if you're dealing with any type of, mental health struggles or physical health struggles. Being with yourself is so challenging.
Right.
And we've avoided our feelings and we've avoided the sensations in our body and we've avoided what anxiety feels like or pain feels like. And this is your opportunity to kind of tell your body, you're not going to be the boss of me anymore. Like, I'm in charge here. And in order to do that, I have to be willing to sit with you. It is like training a dog or an animal. It's like, you have to have patience. You have to be willing to sit with it all. And it's like any of these, and there are so many things that you can do that can be meditative. That's how I feel about baking. That's how I feel about walking. That's how I feel about driving. Anything where you can be with yourself is going to be something that puts you in a state to say, what's here? What am I doing? What am I thinking here? It puts us more in this observer role, which is good because if we don't do that, we're living on default and we're living in a victim mode and we're living in absorb everything around me and then constantly be reacting to everything. And in this day and age, you have to intentionally make decisions or they'll be made on autopilot and they'll be made from a version of you that is scared and fearful instead of a version of you that is, has your goals in mind and has your future in mind and has how you ultimately want to live your life in mind. So I love meditation, but I also, there's a good chance it's not the thing for you, whoever's listening. It might not be. So this is certainly not a podcast to sell you on meditation. However, it has been amazing for me. And I also want to say that even if in the past you tried it and it wasn't for you, that it still could still be.
Well, that was me.
Yeah.
It wasn't for me in the past and it is now.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to lose a lot of people based on the title of the episode being about meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've tried that. Not for me.
Yeah.
I think people will maybe listen to this episode and be in that state and be like, okay, well, I'll listen, but I've tried it before and it wasn't for me. Couldn't stop my brain. I couldn't stop my thinking.
Yeah. Or like you get overcome with anxiety from just doing it. Like meditation when it comes to meditation, it's a really bad idea to judge the meditation based off of how you feel. Because there's a good chance you're not going to feel good for a while of doing it. Or at least every time you start it, or at least for the first 10 to 20 minutes, or at least it's just not the type of thing where you're like, oh, it's amazing when you have a good meditation, but like, there's going to be plenty where you feel awful. And that's because you're being with what is. For the first time, you're not overworking, you're not oversleeping, over whatever. You're not distracting anymore. It really is this declaration that I'm willing to be with what's here. I'm willing to be with my emotional experience. I'm willing to hear I don't want to do this. This is annoying. I've done enough. I try again tomorrow. Hear all of those thoughts and say, I'm staying with you. I'm not leaving this place.
Not to mention we live in a world where we're so used to our brains being overstimulated because of the phones we have in our hand. Yeah. And so to force yourself to sit without that for 30 minutes and quiet your mind, it's going against what you're used to.
Yeah. And you feel that pull.
Yeah.
That pull to grab your phone, the pull to wrap it up, the pull to see what you missed on Instagram during that time. Pull, it's all there. And you have to get used to allowing it to be there, which is so much of what we will talk on this podcast. It's just the willingness to be like, yeah, I allow this discomfort. I can tolerate discomfort. I can feel uncomfortable without also feeling like I need to do something about that right now. I don't need to do anything. This is what's here for me. The same way as if you're waking up and you have anxiety and you have shit to do and it's like, okay, this is what's here. Okay. But I also think in a way it is the ability to train your brain to calm down and to tolerate discomfort. And there's a lot of growth that can be had with the willingness to be with yourself. And so I want to encourage people to use tools that help you do that, but know that the tool is only valuable if it helps you to change, if it helps you to show up in a different way. If it models, I always felt like the reason I liked meditation was because it was modeling something new to my nervous system. I was used to overthinking and, just obsessive thinking and really intellectualizing everything and being in my mind, being in my brain, being in my thoughts. And this was the polar opposite for me. So it was kind of showing it like, what is it like to just be here and feel what the peace feels like. And that's foreign for most of us who have lived our lives kind of overstimulated and constantly going.
Do you feel like this round of attempting meditation versus the past and the fact that you've stuck with it for so long and it has had a good impact on your life, do you feel like maybe one of the reasons you've been able to do it so consistently is because you've had a different reason to do it?
That's a good question. It's a hard question to answer because the reason why most anyone will try anything like this is because they're trying to fix something. It's rarely, sometimes sure, is it optimization? And people are like, I just want to see what I'm capable of and like be more successful or something. Like, do people do? Yeah, they totally do. Most people are going to seek out any type of tool because they want a better life most importantly, they want to feel better. But then what you find when you use these tools is they're actually about helping you to feel more, not really to feel better. So while I definitely started it because I had heard amazing things about, what people can heal, especially when it comes to chronic pain, it was one of those core things that was talked about. In time, it didn't become like, that's not why I do it now. And I'm still healing my chronic pain. Like it's not why, it's really, truly not the reason why I do it. So I'm trying to think of a good answer of like, what is the reason why I do it? I enjoy doing it. And I've seen the benefits of intentional living. I really am I have seen the benefits of getting into alignment with what you're here to do. And meditation is kind of like a portal to that for me. It's because what I realized was so many of us are disconnected from our intuition because we don't ever give it any space to show up. And so when you're constantly on your phone, you're constantly working, you're constantly distracted, when are you supposed to get ideas? When are you supposed to feel inspired to create? There's no space for that. And again, if you don't make space for that, it's not going to barge its way in. It's never going to cut through all of the noise. There's so much noise. So in order to connect to that, and connect to your purpose and to connect to whatever it is you're meant to do today or in your life, you have to be making space for that on purpose. I don't really care how you make that space, but you should be making space for it. You should have things that you do without distraction. And for me, I've really had to make it my own. There was a lot of, I wouldn't say pressure, but teachings that I learned from various places that were kind of like, you need to wake up and meditate. And remember when you were meditating in the morning and then you stopped doing that and like you were doing it at night. And I'm like, you have to do it in the morning.
Yeah.
It was another one of like the rules of meditation. You need to do it right when you wake up. And I have not really been vibing with my morning meditations anymore. I'd rather do them in the middle of the day. That's when I prefer to do them. You do them in the evening. So it's also about not falling into that dogmatic, this is the way to do it type of conversation. They need to be guided. They need to be unguided. They need to be sitting up. They need to be laying down. They need to be in the morning. They need to be twice a day. It's about finding a practice for you that includes things that help you to quiet your mind, be with your emotional state, and make decisions on purpose. And I think that meditation does an excellent job of setting the stage and the tone and the energy of the life that I want to live. It showed my nervous system something other than busyness and overwhelm and stress, and gave me the opportunity to be with what was there in my body and to see that I was okay. Even if it felt scary, even if it felt overwhelming, it's in essence a form of exposure too, to just be like, yeah, this is what I'm feeling. I did not feel good that whole meditation. And that wasn't a bad meditation because of that. It can be easy to categorize it.
One thing that sold me on it pretty quickly, I can just briefly touch on my experience, because a month after you were doing it, really like I saw you, I observed you doing it. And then once I saw it stick, then I became curious.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, she's actually doing this every day and it's been a while now. What's this about? And so I started doing it myself, and I saw immediate effects on the discrepancy between the person I was being and the person I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
I struggle with being very easily irritated, agitated, frustrated. I pop off very quickly. And I know that was an issue. That is not the person I want to be, especially towards the people I love the most, my family members. And so immediately I saw an impact in my life and how I was able to observe my thinking and observe the situations and be able to handle frustration in a different way and not pop off so quickly. And that was because I was thinking about how I wanted to handle those circumstances in my meditation. I was thinking about who do I want to be today? How do I want to think, act, and feel when these things inevitably happen in my life? And immediately I was able to act differently in those situations because of the meditation.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, there's something to this.
Yeah. And I'm sure people could take that to every end of, yes, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, there would be so many explanations of what you experience, but when we boil it all down, it was a tool that helped give you awareness to become intentional and to make different choices, AKA to change.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all these things are. Anything. That's why I don't want to say meditation changed my life. I want to say I used meditation as a tool to help change my own life. It didn't, I don't think tools or practices have the power to change our lives. But I think if we utilize tools in the right way, with the right energy, we can change. And when we change, our life changes. That really is as simply as I can boil it down. And so it's so intentional, especially with the way that we have practiced meditation. And it's becoming aware of how you already behave. And why do you behave that way? What's your perception that's causing you to react and to respond in this way? That's going to happen again. Knowing that, what are you going to change when the environment does the same thing again? And how could that possibly give you a different experience? I'm going to breathe. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to remind myself that in the grand scheme of things, this doesn't matter at all. So I'm able to change my perspective. And that is such a powerful place to be, because it means that you don't need your whole environment to change. You don't need your kids to be different. You don't need your work to be different, your boss to be different. Doesn't mean you don't make changes as needed to those things. But I believe that we should change first. Maybe maybe you don't need to move and quit your job and divorce your spouse. Maybe there's a space in between here that you could have some type of different, I don't want to be like cheesy and be like a perspective shift, but like when we see things different, is it Wayne Dyer who says when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So they're not actually different, but because you're seeing this in a different way, your life changes. You feel differently. It is almost as if these things are changing because you have a different relationship to them, which means you have different thoughts and feelings about these things that are in your life. So it's just a tool. And I think we should always be careful giving all of the credit to a tool. We have to also take accountability for the changes that we had to make. And meditation is so cool because it brings things into your awareness. But as we all know, awareness only takes you so far. So once you have that awareness, a lot of the time you have to make some hard decisions. You have to do hard things. You have to make changes in how you see things. You might have to change the way that you do things. You might have to actually change physical things in your life. But that's how I felt with meditation. It just gave me the ability to step outside of myself instead of being caught in that tornado of everything around me. For me to step out and observe and to watch myself and to watch my brain and to watch, what's that about? I don't even dig super deep into where did that come from? When did that start? That's not super valuable for me. It's just, this is what it is right now. Based on that, where do we go from here? So for me, it's been a life-changing tool because I used the tool to change my life. I was talking to Ryan on our walk today, because we kind of talk about whatever the topics are as we're deciding what podcast to record. And I was like, if meditation worked for everybody the same way, then when I tried it before, it would have worked, it's not going to, everyone's not going to have the same experience with it. And it can be hard because then people will just be like, well, you're just not doing it right. You need to do a different form of meditation, or you need to do this better. And the reason it's not working is because of you. And I just think tools are called tools for a reason. It's something that you can use and see the way that it works and how it benefits you. And we get to use the tools, and we get to use tools that resonate with us. But it can be a little disheartening when you are working on improving your life or changing your life to try a tool and be like, that tool doesn't work, or it didn't work for me. It could be any number of reasons why it didn't cause the desired outcome that you had. But I think if we see these things in a different way of, how can I use this to change? How can I use this to assist showing up the way I want to show up in the world? Then any tool can be helpful. And it can be helpful to a certain extent. And we all have our own tool belt of things that help us and benefit us, that we see value in. And it's not my job to be like, you should see value in this thing. I feel like it's my job to share what I use, what I find value in, and what potential, like what is the bigger thing that it's providing here.
Yeah, I think maybe we caught on to Joe Dispenza's guided meditations, and maybe we were attracted to it particularly because his general philosophy is something we were very familiar with already for years and years and years, and kind of like aligns a lot with what you teach with it, which is how you think about things affects how you feel about them, and how you feel about them affects what you do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the type of coaching I've been doing ever since I started coaching 6 years ago.
Right. And so maybe I'm just kind of thinking through this. Maybe that's why it caught on to us. Because it felt so aligned.
Yeah. And also because we've been in this area of behavior change, and we've used these tools to change our whole entire life, our relationship, all that kind of stuff. But it was cool to find meditation to be a tool that can help you do the thing you already know works. We already know that it works to change the way we perceive things. We already know that we are the causes of our own suffering. We already knew those things. And so to have a tool that helps to bring more awareness to that is amazing. There are lots of tools like that. I feel like journaling is a similar one. It's like these tools that help you to see what's going on, because we don't see those things when we're just living our life and we're inside our minds reacting and having Groundhog's Day and reacting the same way we would have reacted yesterday.
Yeah.
When you utilize tools that help you see what you've been doing and then look at it and be like, do I want to keep doing this? If not, I'm going to need to decide what I'm going to do next time if I want to have a different experience. And then when you practice that enough times, there's a new normal that becomes the new normal. There's a new way of living. And we've done that in so many areas of our lives. So yeah, I do think that it folded right in and to what we were already doing, which is important too. When you find stuff, you don't want to be doing shit that just doesn't align with how you're already living your life.
Yeah. This isn't like a Joe Dispenza podcast, but people listening are going to want to know, who don't know him, where do they go? What do they do? How do they discover him and his work?
Yeah. I think the best place to start is just his book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. It's an amazing book, and it really digs deeper into these concepts, which is that how you experience your life is based up of how you think, how you feel, and how you behave. And that if you want to change the way you experience life, those things are going to need to change. And so he talks a lot about behavior change, and from many different angles, neuroscience, quantum physics, epigenetics. You know, he's very sciencey, but also explains things in a really easy to digest type of way. And yeah, if you're interested in behavior change and experiencing life differently, it's a really good place to start.
And there are meditations that come with that book.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like a 4-week program. I never really went through that program, but I've heard that it's good. And yeah, I'm trying to think what else. It's gonna, if you've been in the self-development world, none of it is going to be a super big surprise. It might be in a different language, but I've heard this exact same concept taught by every teacher you can think of. It's just so important that we realize the effect that we have on our own lives. We are responsible for a lot of that. I'm not saying people want to take this responsibility. I know many people that don't. They really want and choose on purpose to feel like they are at the effect of everything around them. And they behave as such. That is, the behavior reflects that way of thinking. It is different when you decide, I'm going to take responsibility for my reactions to stuff. I have every option of how I am going to perceive what's happening in front of me. And I know that that's how I control how I feel and what I do next and the impact that I want to have. And I'm going to have a much greater impact feeling like I have a choice in how I perceive this than if I'm like, I'm at the mercy of anything that happens and everything that everyone else does is, happening to me. That's one way to see things. I did not find that I lived a very happy life when I lived from that state though.
I have some questions here.
Okay.
If you've touched on everything you want to touch on.
I think so. Let me just do a quick wrap up of the points that I really wanted to hit home here. Number one is that there's never going to be a tool that's going to change your life, but that you have the opportunity to use tools to help you change your life. This is something we didn't touch on, if you use tools as just a way to check a box, like let's say you're like, I'm going to meditate every day, and you meditate, and the sole purpose of doing that is so you can check it off of a box, I guarantee you are not going to get the effects of what you're doing. Because again, you're doing it for the energy. That's people who are like, I've meditated for 5 years and nothing's happened. It's like, yeah, most likely you're doing it with the energy of like, I'm getting it done. Instead of what can I learn here? What other angle can I take this from? None of these things are to do just to do. You have to be willing to be introspective and see what's there for you. The solution to anything that you want in life that you do not currently have is that you have to change. You need to change. You are responsible for changing. That's it. Any tool that you find, anything out there that is marketed to help you is essentially helping you to change. The tools are not like, none of that is ever going to be the one size fits all slam dunk solution. You
still did the work.
I had to do so much work. I wish that I could have just sat down in silence for an hour, and that was like, no, that was again, a door opener to everything that I needed to do differently. My life is different because I changed my life because I changed. That's it. End of story. And I love tools that help you do that. But I think we have things backwards, and like we're celebrating the tools as the solve. The change is the solve. And anything that helps you to change should be celebrated and included in a way that is a support, not a fix. And I feel very, very strongly about that. And also, I highly recommend meditation if you have been curious about it, or even if you've tried it before and are like, well, I did it and I felt bad. I want to be someone who says, you've got to stop trying to only do things that don't make you feel bad, or to do only sticking with things that make you feel better instantly. A lot of the real work that we talk about is leaning into discomfort on purpose because it helps you to live this big, beautiful life. But you don't just get to hop there. And we can't keep trying things and be like, oh no, that made me feel bad. Good. Let's walk. Keep walking. Why are you turning around? Keep walking. Keep walking toward that. Because your ability to feel those things that you're avoiding also gives you the ability to feel joy and peace and contentment and alignment and fulfillment. When you avoid emotional experiences, you're also avoiding the good ones too. So like, let's be willing to feel more. And I'm a big fan of tools that help you not feel better, but to feel deeper and to feel more, because that's going to give you the power to feel deeper joy and deeper all the good stuff too. But you got to be willing to go through the muck as well. So those were the main things that I wanted to get across.
What would you tell someone who says, I tried meditation, but I can't stop my thoughts?
I would tell them that they have an incorrect perception of what meditation is, because you're not supposed to be doing anything with those thoughts. The goal isn't to make the thoughts stop. I'm not saying that that's not going to happen in time, that your brain won't slow down, but to try to meditate and to see that you have a very, very busy mind, that's just because you're paying attention to it. What do you think your mind looks like when you're not paying attention to it? That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
That's the truth. So if you're unwilling to notice that you have a really busy mind and to start making peace with the fact that that is the state that your mind is in right now, and the goal through continued meditation would be to first become comfortable with the current state of it, and then hopefully in time get in the practice, like really work the muscle of we're here to settle. But it's not a problem if it doesn't settle. That's not, you can't come into this with an agenda.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem, is y'all are a bunch of control freaks and you want to control the meditation too. That's not it. That's we're releasing control. That's going to be the most uncomfortable part of a meditation practice is whatever comes up is what comes up. Whatever's there for the day is what's there for the day.
I think people need to stop judging their inability to slow their mind down.
Yeah.
When I stopped at judging it, that really helped me a lot, because I still don't slow it down completely.
Yeah.
I just say, okay, bringing it back. And I do that
However many times you
40
need
times
to.
in the span of 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, Ryan, we're bringing it back. I saw you wandering. We're bringing it back.
And gently and lovingly, like, oh, we're just going to bring this attention back. It's a way for you guys to practice non-judgment. Like, and notice that was the hardest part of my meditation that I found out when I started meditating, was how quick I was to judge myself and to shame myself and to be in meditation and being like, look, you can't even freaking, oh, you can't. Oh, and it's like, are you guys willing to be with that voice for a little bit? Are you willing to say, I see you. I see what you're trying to do here. I see you're trying to be supportive or trying to make me get up or whatever, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm not afraid of this. And again, it falls into the, like, just because you guys turn the lights off doesn't mean it's not there. So your busy mind is not just busy in meditation. Meditation is just turning the light on and saying, this is what's here.
Yep.
And then you want to say, oh my gosh, this is so messy. Turn the light back off. Okay, we can do that, but it's still the same. You ignoring it doesn't make it go away. You paying attention to it doesn't make it worse. It just is. It just is what is. So there's nothing, the goal, if you have the goal to make your mind slow down, you're going to be disappointed. And we want to work from a place of allow your mind to slow down when it's ready to slow down, and allow your body and your mind to slow down when they feel safe to do so. You haven't provided your body even the space to feel safe to settle. That's one of the biggest problems that we have, is why it's going to stay in protection mode until it feels safe to do it.
What changed in your actual daily life, not just during meditation?
What changed in my actual daily life? Oh, I mean, a slowing down was a big aspect of it. There were some key things that, as my journey, and it's still unfolding, the biggest things were I started prioritizing creating and finding joy and simplifying, pulling back, rest, and really slowing things down. So you guys want your mind to stop running. Like, I saw how fast my mind was running. I saw how the pace that my mind already wanted to go, and then the way I contributed to that and the way that I made it worse. I became much more aware in my hours outside of meditation so that I could see very clearly the ways I was contributing. And then I just started changing things, the way that I moved, the way that I planned, the way that I worked. That was probably the biggest thing for me, is I realized, yeah, your mind, it does run really fast. You're really tightly wound. In what ways can we slow down your environment so that we can realize that it's safe to slow down? It's safe to pull back. You're not in any danger. We can move at this slower pace. And then that, combined with bringing in more joy, really changed the way I started experiencing my life. I want to say fairly quickly, but I guess that's all up into interpretation. I want to say it probably took four months before those changes started.
This next question kind of piggybacks off that. How long before you noticed you were reacting differently to stress?
A while. And I think a longer period of time than most people would give it, if I'm being honest.
That's interesting, because it was pretty quick for me.
Yeah. I think it's going to vary from person to person.
Yeah.
But imagine, like, for you, it was, I don't know. I don't know how I want to say this. Like, I think it just matters the level of awareness. I think I was too in my head, and I was still too busy that, and I've always been that way, trying to figure things out, that I think it took me a while to shift into my body. And so I think it's going to totally depend. That's why you can't say, like, some people do one meditation and their whole life has changed forever. And then what do you think that tells all the people that are like, I've been doing this for 8 months before something started to change? It's just the type of thing that you need to give time to, and it's going to unfold perfectly for you. But I want to say that for me, I did a lot of meditating without seeing much change of anything. And that most likely had much more to do with me doing less changing. Like, I think that was probably the problem.
What kept you going?
Oh man, that's a good question. I don't know. And I'm okay saying that I don't know. Like, meditation was one of those things that I felt guided to. I felt like it was something that I was supposed to be doing. And I felt like it was a lesson teacher to me. It was a teacher of, like, you don't get to just get paid for putting in work right away. There was something about it that was like, not endure, but stick with this. And I don't have a good logical answer to give you. It was something that I think the core benefit that it gave me before I started seeing it reflected in my outside thing was it gave me a chance to, dare I say, escape for a little bit. It gave me a chance to somewhere else for a bit. I don't know how else to describe that. So that was the benefit I saw for a while. It gave me, and maybe that's all that it was. It gave me a break from the constant trying to figure things out and it just gave me the ability to be somewhere else for 30 to 60 minutes. But then the reason why it was so hard is once I came back from the meditation and I was kind of like in my normal environment, I was having a really bad time. And so there was a moment that clicked where I was like, oh shit. I need to figure out what are we doing for the other 15 hours. And that was where me really combining the allowing and the acceptance with the gift of meditation, that was what kind of, plus the joy and plus the, non-judgment. It really was a mix of things, but it became very apparent where I was like, well, I feel so good when I meditate. And then I feel like I'm, launched back into the hell of being in the experience that I'm in right now.
Yeah. Can I tell you what I've just observed?
Yeah.
Because I've watched you go through all of this and unfold over the past, I've known you for a long time.
Yeah.
What I've observed is before you started meditating, and maybe a couple of years prior to this, you have intellectualized your entire life and tried to think about all of your trauma, and you've done the therapy and the EMDR and all the things. And it feels like since you started doing this, it's been a branch of like, okay, I know my issues and now I'm going to work on changing who I am.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe inherently you knew that this was the turn in the road you're making.
Yeah.
And that this was the work of doing it. Meditation was one aspect of it.
Yeah, for sure. Because you can get, that's the problem, we'll speak on this on a future episode, but the problem is you can get kind of stuck in the why. And that's a not great place to be. Because after years of that, you're like, no, I understand this from front and back. Like, I get it. Like, I get why I am the way that I am. I understand the wounds that I have. But at some point, it stops becoming about the trauma and starts becoming about the choices. And a lot of people use their trauma to not make choices. They actually choose to stay the same because of the trauma. And the other option there is to choose to change because of the trauma. You use the trauma as like a launch board of like, well, that's not what I want to pass on down to my kids. This isn't who I want to be. And I understand. And it's like you have this knowledge that you have the choice, if you want to use this as a reason to never grow. And you can tell people your super sad story and they're going to be like, oh my God, after everything you've been through, it makes sense why you're so miserable. Like it would make sense for you to be miserable for the rest of your life after everything you've been through. It's like, and people do, they stay in that place. That's one option. It's not a good life. It's not a happy life, but God, you could just take all this and you carry it all until you die and take it to whoever's waiting for you and be like, look at this hard life. But I think that would be missing the point. And so I decided, it got to a point where it was like, okay, that may have been what got you to this place, but now fucking what, dude? Now what? What do we do with this? And the answer is you change. You have to change. You have to change the way you react, the way you respond, the way you think, and the lens by which you view the world. Because I had every reason to view the world as very unsafe and dangerous and unfair. And imagine living your whole life with that perspective. And you can, and many, many, many people do. Or you say, despite all of this, life can be beautiful and you can develop relationships where people love you and not everybody is going to leave you and people do want to see who you fully are and it's safe for you to be who you are. And those are the other lessons that are on the other side of all the pain that you've been through. But those are gifts that not everybody opens from a life of trauma, abuse, neglect, whatever, abandonment, whatever. So it's optional, but how sad to not be able to open the gifts on the other side of it. And so, yeah, I do think that at a certain point it becomes like, okay, how many times do we want to circle the drain about my thoughts about my mother? Like, how much further do we take this before we're like, okay, and you really can choose to see it however you want. Everything that happened did get me to this spot that I'm at right now. And because of it, I have a deep care and empathy for other people who are deeply, deeply suffering. Like, that is a gift. How else would I have known that? Like, just like read books about it where I'm like, oh, I can understand and have this desire to help people who are suffering to feel better and live joyful, beautiful, abundant lives. Like, how would I even have that desire in my soul if there wasn't a reason? So it's all part of it. And I definitely got to the point where I'm like, all right, I get it. And it's time to feel it and it's time to change.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Nope.
All right. I think that wraps that up.
All right.
We'll see you guys next week.
See ya.